Thank you, Shadow Stevens. And hey, Rodney Allen Rippey, great to have you back on the show. How are you, man?
Man, it's always good to be on with you. Jimmy, what's happening?
Nothing much, man. Just hanging out. I'm so happy about having you back with us. You've got a lot going on, as always. You've got a radio station. You've got a morning show. Tell us a little bit. Fill us in. What's going on?
Well, I'm really excited. Working with a dear colleague of mine. His name's Dan Pettigrew. Me and him, we've been, business partners for years.
Right.
He came from Clear Channel, many, many moons ago. Right. And he wanted to start a different kind of radio station. So there's a lot of genres out there. There's rock and country and hip and R&B and rap and all this other good stuff. But he says, Rodney, I want to create a beautiful music format. And I said, beautiful music. And so beautiful music is all instrumental. Now, some people say, oh, it's a little docile, but you know what? There's a lot of people who really love beautiful music. So we source the best beautiful music from the biggest orchestras from around the world, from the 1920s to the 2000s. I'm happy to say that we probably have one of the largest collections of beautiful music of any radio station out there. There are no real competition. So we kind of moved into a space and into a genre where it's not so compacted. So we're excited about it. So we have a little radio station called KJBM Radio. So check it out, KJBM Radio. So when you're not listening to Jimmy Deal and getting the best entertainment, if you're just kind of laying back and relaxing and you want to listen to some easy music, check out kjbmradio.com. And so real proud about that. And we just got picked up by one of those streaming things that list all of the streaming stations from around the world. So we got picked up. So I think it's called radioonline.com. Right. And so if you go in there and you search for KJBM, we'll pop up, but you can just go directly to us. And so real excited about that. And what we try to do every month is have a special that we could promote. And so last month or so ago was National Hot Tea Day. So really? A lot of people don't know there's a National Hot Tea Day. So we were promoting that and all this other bunch of fun stuff. And so between that, I'm excited because I'm, a few steps away from launching the Rippey Foundation.
Right. So, tell us about that. Tell us about the Rippey Foundation.
Rippey Foundation, I'm going to be working with at-risk youth, senior citizens, and veterans. And so all three have such need in different areas. And so I understand there's a lot of great organizations out there doing some really wonderful things. But the Rippey Foundation, I'm going to focus on some very needed niche areas that a lot of the big boys might miss. And so it's still going to make a major impact. Right. And so I'm very excited about that. And then every Monday, I'm on a little network. It's the This Way Network. And we stream live to YouTube, and it's called The Chat Session. And so just today, I had a dear friend of mine, Ernest Harding Jr. I don't know if you know Ernest. He was in White Men Can't Jump. Oh, okay. And he was on the Jeffersons. Remember, George Jefferson was always mean to the guy at the dry cleaners that worked for him.
Yes, I remember. Sure.
That's Ernest. And so Ernest, wow. I just interviewed Ernest this morning, and phenomenal guy. Worked with Betty Davis in a movie called White Mama.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He was like one of the first, if not very few, African Americans to act alongside of Betty Davis. And of course she passed away, but he was there with her and did that and worked with Harrison. Was it Harrison Ford? No, not Harrison Ford. Robert Redford.
Did he?
Robert Redford. Yeah, worked with Robert Redford. He was did a little stint on Coming to America. Just so overall round great guy, actor, good heart, and I'd call him a friend.
Yeah, I mean, The Jeffersons, what a great show, man. One of the best.
Oh, and he was friends with Norman Lear. I mean, give or take.
Wow, wow.
Being on the show. So Norman Lear, just a giant in entertainment, as you know.
Right.
over 100 hit shows and things that he produced. And so fantastic, really fantastic.
Now, you've been in this business a long, long time, right? Tell us how you got started in the business. I know you grew up right in California, right? Is it Long Beach, California?
Long Beach, California, for all the West Siders out there, West Side Long Beach. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So yeah, just a little kid, just grew up on the West Side of Long Beach, and in a middle class family, honestly. And so one day I was watching The Little Rascals, and my mom was in the kitchen washing dishes, and so she comes in and she's like, "What's so funny?" And I pointed the television. So she says, "Oh, you're laughing at buckwheat." I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What, you think you could do that? You think you could be on TV?" I'm like, "Yeah." And my mom was like, "No, seriously, you wouldn't be afraid of the lights and the cameras and all that stuff?" I'm like, "Nope." Right. So my mom calls my bluff, and she goes over to the Yellow Pages. And for you young people out there, and people, how many of you out there remember the Yellow Pages? And so mom that's like our internet directory that we have now. It was called the Yellow Pages. And so mom starts making phone calls, and before you know it, you had me, my brother Kenneth Wayne, and my sister Beverly Lee. We were all signed up with an agent. And my brother and sister, my sister actually worked first in the family. Right. And my brother, he had a few auditions, and I landed the Jack in the Box spot. Speaking of Jack in the Box, drum roll, please. Ta-da!
There you go. Look at that. Wow. How cool is that picture right there?
That's right. That is one of the, original Jack in the Box pictures. So shout out to Jack in the Box. Yeah. And Jack in the Box needs to shout me out too. Don't forget that,
Now, she was one of the most popular agents, right, in Hollywood at that time. What was her name? Dorothy Day Otis, right? I think
Dorothy Day Otis. Yeah, she was one of the hottest children's agents. And so just luck of the draw, mom called her, and we had a few trial and error. My mom got us all signed up with one other agent, and they were kind of scandalous and took a few bucks from us and skipped town. And but thank goodness mama kept her focus and kept her cool, and did a little homework and found out that you have to have a SAG regulated agent. That's Screen Actors Guild. Shout out to the union. SAG, all that good stuff. And so we found Dorothy, and she was a great agent. And so I got the call for the Jack in the Box commercial, and I went out and landed it. And so I had a 14-year run with Jack in the Box. Amazing. And met a lot of people. And from that commercial, traveled all around the United States. And there was an album that got released called Take Life a Little Easier.
Right.
And Sony just recently remastered it and re-released it, so you can get it on Spotify and Amazon Music. So you can buy a copy of Take Life a Little Easier, and it's right there at all of these streaming sites. And if you have children, a lot of times, if you listen to a lot of the music nowadays, they don't have too much music for the little ones,
Exactly, yes.
And so this music is completely just make you want to giggle, if you're a little kid kind of stuff. And so that's what it is. So please, pick up a copy. But it really is for the young kids, and it's very positive and happy-go-lucky.
Like Candyman was on there too, right? Wasn't the Candyman on there?
Candyman, Everybody Knows But You. There's a song on there that I honestly really love, and it's called World of Love. And if you want to hear a great song, people, this is what the entire world needs. It's a world of love, and it's I think it should be an anthem. I really do. I think it would be great in a commercial. People should really get a hold of that song. And if you listen to it, you'll be like, wow, very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, the album was just fantastic. I mean, not only did you have the album, but you had a doll. Tell us about the doll.
Yeah, well, once that Jack in the Box campaign started snowballing, it just kind of took off on its own. And so then Mattel Toy, big shout out to Mattel.
Yeah.
They produced the Rodney Allen Rippy doll, but they also produced the Flip Wilson doll and the JJ Jimmy Walker doll and the Red
Right.
Fox doll, but it was part of a division called Shadana Toys or Shandana Toys, and that was a diversity division of Mattel Toy. And truth be told, there was I believe it was some CEO at the time. Somebody asked him in an interview, how come Mattel doesn't offer black dolls? And he goes, oh, there's no market for black dolls. And that created a firestorm. And so it was like open mouth, in goes foot. Ooh. And so probably what ended up happening was, what did happen was he got so much heat. He was like, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I don't see any black companies out there with dolls. And all these companies go, me. And so they did something called Operation Bootstrap. Shout out again to Mattel Toy. I was just with Brian Benedict. Shout out to Brian Benedict. He's one of the big shots at Mattel Toy, and he's over the Hot Wheels division. So I'm a fan of Hot Wheels. And so, seriously, Mattel Toy, put out an open call to manufacturers, especially towards the diversity side, and said, hey, we want to see all your dolls, and we want to see who really is in that space and needs a push. And thus why they call it Operation Bootstrap.
Wow. Do you still have a doll? Do you still have one?
I do have a doll. Believe it or not, it is not here. It is actually my doll, my personal doll, is at the Hollywood Museum in Hollywood, California. Wow. Yes, I was there they did a Black History Month display, and I was so honored to be one of the wonderful displays. If you ever come into Hollywood, California, right on Hollywood and Highland, it is the Hollywood Museum. It has everything in there. They have a section in there that has like all of Lucille Ball's shoes and dresses and Marilyn Monroe things, and all of this stuff is authentic. These are real movie items, and you can go in there and go, oh my God, that was the necklace that so-and-so was wearing. And so, big shout out to the organization, and just Danelle has done such a wonderful job keeping the Hollywood Museum. Even when COVID hit and the whole town was shut down, she survived this huge debacle like many people had to. And the museum is up and rolling. And matter of fact, darn, they're supposed to be doing a Three Stooges, some type of unveiling of Three Stooges stuff. And so I get these wonderful calls. Yeah, man, just cool stuff. So anyway, but my doll is there, and I have to go pick up my memorabilia. And here's another little picture. That was one of these is actually in the display case. So I actually had an extra one of these.
Wow.
But this is an actual promo shot from the Jack in the Box commercials. I'm just looking at some funny things, and this is something else. There you go.
Wow, there you go.
Made the cover of Ebony magazine. That was a big, huge
and
publication.
Jet too. You were on the cover of Jet too, right? Jet magazine.
Yep. I was on the cover of Jet, Hollywood Weekly magazine. I was very fortunate, that it was just time, the way things rolled. It was just perfect time. I feel very blessed, my family and all is well,
I mean, you paved the way for Black actors and kids to get on television. You were the first, really, right, Rodney?
Well, not really the first. There were a few more out there. I mean, I have to give respect to the people like, you got people like James Earl Jones and what's his name? Guess who's coming to dinner? Sidney Poitier. Oh Lord.
Oh, yeah.
I met Sidney Poitier in Century City. They have a mall there, Weisfield's Mall. And so I'm walking through the mall, or actually I was cutting through the mall because I was going to Century City and going to see somebody there, business partner. And as I'm walking through, I see this tall, just elegant looking man walking. And I said, gosh, that looks like Sidney Poitier. And it was. He was walking all by himself, just walking through the mall. And I said, excuse me, sir. I said, are you Sidney Poitier? He goes, yes, I am, son. I was like, what are you doing here by yourself? He goes, exercising.
Oh, wow.
I said, exercising? He goes, yeah, I just walked through the mall. And I was like, alone? And I was like, this dude is like a diamond and ruby and precious stones that I'm like, this is Sidney Poitier. And I'm just seeing his face in movies and all. And I just told him, I said, what an inspiration you are. You know, I told him, I said, wow. And I just said, what I would give to work with you. And he's like, well, I'm just taking it easy now. And I said, man, but you know, and I just shook his hand. I just wanted to shake his hand just to touch him. And I was like, wow. And I was like, well, I'm not going to make a big scene. I was like, see you later. Right. See you later, son. And now, but I asked him, I said, do you remember Rodney Allen Rippey? He goes, is that you? He goes, yes, I remember you. And I was like, oh, I'm going to fall over. Give me a chair or someone. I was like, he remembered me. And I was like, but you know, so many people from, gosh, you know, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. I mean, not James Earl Jones, but he just passed. Oh my goodness. Great actor. Oh, it'll come to me. But
I know you met so many people, Samuel L. Jackson, right? I mean, Michael Jackson. You became friends with Michael Jackson. I want to tell us about Michael Jackson, and you get a call from Dick Clark, right, to do the very first American Music Awards. You look like Michael Jackson, right? They bring you out on stage. Tell us the story. What happened there?
Actually, it was funny. I walk in with my mom, and you see, you know, right there on the red carpet is Dick Clark, and he's handshaking people and thanking people for coming. And it was his big night, and he was so excited about it. And he goes, Rodney, you made it. He goes, oh my goodness, you look like a miniature Michael Jackson. I'll be right back. And he takes off. And so apparently he went and told the production to, it was supposed to be Donny Osmond and Michael Jackson doing the nominee, but he thought it would be funny to take Ricky Siegel, who looked like a miniature Donny Osmond, and I looked like a miniature Michael Jackson. So it was this whole spoof that worked. And, you know, shout out to, you know, the amazing Dick Clark, you know, one of the greatest producers that ever was. And so, you know, Dick just, wow, he put that thing together, and me and Ricky stole the show.
Yeah. Now you were sitting right near where Michael Jackson was going to sit, right? And didn't tell us about that and how you friended Michael Jackson.
Well, in the beginning, before the show began, we go in, you get seated, of course. And I'm sitting on the second row, and my mom is next to me, and on the front seat, on the front row, right in front of me, was a chair that said Michael Jackson. It was a piece of gaffer's tape, and it had a Sharpie. And I said, Mama, is Michael Jackson going to sit here? And she goes, Rodney, probably, because they stage people where they want them. And I'm freaking out, and they cue the music, and the show starts, and I'm bummed because I'm like, Mom, Michael Jackson's not going to show up, and he would have been sitting right here. And so the show starts. And so I'm sitting on the second row, and I'm like, darn, Michael was going to come. And so sure enough, we're sitting there, and they hit the first commercial break, and this guy comes running, production guy comes running and says, Miss Rippey, we need Rodney, and reaches over the front chair and grabs me under my armpits and throws me over his shoulder. And my mom goes, hey, where are you taking him? And he goes, we'll bring him back. Don't worry. And he runs off with me. And my mom is in the middle row. And my mom is like, I'm her little chicken, right? And she's like, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, and so they just took me backstage and they hooked me up with Ricky. And so a few seconds later, Michael, Donnie, and me and Ricky, we all walk out together. And so if you get online, if you go to YouTube, type in Rodney Allen Rippey and put the word Michael right behind it, and you will see this incredible thing that happened on the very first American Music Awards.
Yeah. Now you developed a little relationship with Michael too, right? Didn't you talk to him like every week, Saturdays?
Yeah. Yeah, what happened was after that, I had to, became friends with Michael, and I was like really, I was just a little guy, but Michael was very, very cool because he was more like a mentor, and
Mhm.
he would call me every Saturday morning, right on the dot at 10 o'clock. I don't know
Really?
what he was doing, but he would stop on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on the dot and call me. And we would talk, and he'd say, "Hey, what are you doing, Rodney?" I was like, "Hey, what are you doing, Michael?" I'm this little kid holding this big old phone, and
Right.
he's like, "How many autographs did you give this week?" And I was like, he's like, "Give as many autographs as you can, and always look your best, and never turn down a fan, and make sure you have time for your fans." And these were the type of little nuggets that he gave me. And
Right.
so at the time, like I said, from once the Jack in the Box thing got rolling, I worked with greats from wow. Well, first, the great Mel Brooks. Ha ha ha. Here you go, folks.
Blazing Saddles right there.
Look at that. Blazing Saddles. How you like that? That's me right there. That's me. Blazing Saddles. Yep. And that was a scene from the movie, which became a t-shirt, which I hope to market. So if anybody needs a Rodney Allen Rippey Blazing Saddles t-shirt, talk to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How can they get in touch with you? Probably through your website, I'm sure, or
yeah. You can catch. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm not hard to find. Rodney Allen Rippey, and so you'll see me. And I'm on Facebook too. So, but thank goodness, I have a lot of nice people who reach out. Just had a great time yesterday. I was actually at, drum roll, the Benedict Castle Concourse.
Oh, wow.
And this actually is a huge fundraiser here in Southern California. And have you ever heard of Meguiar's Car Wax? Meguiar's?
I did, yes, absolutely.
Well,
I've used it actually.
The daughter, the lovely Nicole Meguiar, there she is. God bless her. She passed away.
Wow. Oh, really?
Beautiful, sweet Nicole. And her father, Barry Meguiar, they said, this is her dedication. Tons of sponsors. I mean, big shot people. And they had some of the baddest cars that you could ever. They had this crazy thing that showed up called Thor. I don't know if you know what Thor is. Thor is this massive, big truck.
Really? Wow.
Look at that. I mean, wow. This thing showed up and just stole the show. Anyway, I don't want to, that's for all you gearheads out there. But anyway, that's where I was yesterday. And then this morning I did my show. And now I'm on with Jimmy Deal. Yeah.
I know you're still into cars. I know your dad used to restore, right? Classic cars, right?
My dad, for fun, when we lived in Long Beach, it was funny. So I'm this little kid, and Dad enjoyed restoring cars, classic cars. And so it's funny. While this is part of my autobiography that I'm trying to get finished, because I want to really complete that. I was trying to get this thing done by July. I just don't think it's going to happen this year again.
Yeah, we can't wait for that. We're waiting for that.
Yeah, but it might be later this year. It might. I might kind of buckle down, and finish this thing up. But it was a funny story because my dad would be, mom's at home, and next thing you know, my dad has some of his homeboys, and they're pushing a car up the driveway, and my mom would open the door and look out, and she's like, "Fred, what is this?" And my Anthony, all these guys are pushing this car, and they're like, he goes, "What does it look like, Flossie? It's a car." And she goes, "Why are you dragging this thing in the driveway?" He goes, "Because I'm gonna fix it." And he's just like, "You always bringing something home." And my dad's like, "Do I tell you what to do in the kitchen? Just let me have my fun." It was, and my mom was like, "Whatever," and shut the door. Right. So I was always wanting to be close to Pop. So I was his tool guy. So whenever he was under the car, or my little hands could fit in there to get the bolt that he dropped somewhere down in the car. And he's, "Hey, Rodney." So he's holding me like a tool. And he's like, "You see that little screw down there sticking?" So my little hand would go in. I got it. And so Pop was always there. But I did from that, I did get a fondness of classic cars. And so I've restored a few classics and own a couple classics, and
Nice.
keeps you out of trouble.
Absolutely. Now, after the whole showbiz thing with Jack in the Box, you went to college, right? You took advertising, right? Marketing.
Yep.
You worked for a lot of big companies there in Los Angeles, Westwood One for one, and
Yep.
ABC Radio, right? Tell us
Yep.
about that.
You know, what happened was at the age of 12, I moved to North Carolina.
Right.
I moved to North Carolina, so I lived there from 1980 to 88. And upon graduating, shout out to all my Southeast High School friends back in Greensboro, North Cackalack. And so all my friends back there. And so, but after high school, I decided that I was going to return to California.
Right.
And I did. And so sadly, right before graduation, my mom passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
And yeah, sad thing. She had cancer. My mom passed away. But thank God she gave me enough to carry me a lifetime. And I, gave her a commitment that she said, what are you going to do? She was in the hospital and we talked.
Right.
And she said, what are you going to do? I said, Mom, I got to make sure you're all right. And Mom told me, she said, Rod, no matter what happens to me, you're going to be all right. So I was like, wow. And so at that moment, I started to think about all of the important things, the life lessons, the skills, the little things, that you think about. And I started to reflect on all that. And so I remember one time I had a shirt and I said, Mom, my button's off. Can you sew this button on? And my mom said, come here, baby. Let me show you how to do this. And she goes and gets me a needle and thread. She goes, now put it through the back and tie it in a knot. And okay. Oh, no, loop it around. Okay. She goes, there you go. And I was like, hey, that's pretty groovy. She goes, now you'll never have a wobbly button as long as you live. And I don't. Brother don't have no wobbly buttons. So, mama. So those things, and watching her cook. I have a passion for cooking.
Right.
I love to cook, and I can get down in the kitchen. I really can.
Right. Well, I mean, you've done so much, really, and also the television appearances. I got to talk about that. The Odd Couple, one of my favorite episodes, right there. Tell us about Jack Klugman and Tony Randall. What would they like to be on set with?
Well, just at that time, I did a lot of shows during the 70s. $6 Million Man, Police Story, Dr. Welby, MD, The Odd Couple, and which we're talking about. Right. And I knew these shows. I mean, they were on TV. They were staple TV shows.
Right.
And when I got the call, and it was, that was a good time. It wasn't like, oh, Rodney, you got an audition. No, it was like, hey, agent call. They want Rodney to do this thing. That's what you call going direct to producer. When you get a call like that, that's when they love you, because the money's real, the job is real, and you going in, Jack. When they call you like that, and I mean, any of you producers out there, brother ain't got time to be auditioning, fooling around. Take a brother straight on in, because I got work to do, So anyway, it's one of those things that being on that episode, I was the owner. I owned their building, supposedly.
Yes.
I was this little kid, and it was just a very, very funny, legendary episode, because they were always late on their rent, and finally they were late, and there was a knock at the door, and I had this big bodyguard, and I was sitting on his shoulders, and I was like, "Where's my rent?" And they're like, "Who are you?" They're like, "I own the building." And they're like, "You own our building?" So it was that type of thing.
Great episode. So with the $6 Million Man, did you get to work with Lee Majors? Tell us about Lee.
I did. Let me tell you something. The day I got the call for the $6 Million Man. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Lee Majors. Lee Majors had a day at the Hollywood Museum, and I missed it. I would have went there, but I had a scheduling conflict, and I wanted. But Lee looks great, still handsome, just debonair. Looks like Hollywood. I saw some pictures of him, and he's all standing back, and he's got these blue lens glass. I mean, I'm like, this dude still looks like a star. I mean, he just like exudes Hollywood. I mean, he's that guy. Absolutely. But anyway, so I remember being there on the set, and I was a little kid on the show, and there was a scene where there was a bicycle. So they had this bike, and they were like, hey, Rodney, you're going to be riding this bike around, right? And I really, you know, we want you to have a good time. So while they were shooting all this other stuff, they give me this bike. So now I'm riding this bike around, and I'm in love with this blue bike. And true story, if I tell you this, this is going to kill you. So I'm riding this freaking bike for half the day, just riding around because they were working on, you know, shooting other stuff.
Right.
And I lay the bike down, I go to lunch, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, Rodney, I got some bad news. And I'm like, what? He said, the bike, Rodney, the bike. I'm like, what about the bike? He goes, one of the production trucks ran over it. I'm like, what?
Oh, man.
The bike is ruined? He was like, bike is ruined. And it was like, he turned around, he looks at this guy, he goes, can you bring him the bike? And they bring me this bike, and it's all mangled. And I'm like, I'm like, dude, I'm like this close, about ready to cry. I'm like, the bike is messed up. And they're like, okay, get ready for the cameras. And that was part of the scene that my bike got run over. And these people literally mangled this bike to death. I mean, it looked, I don't know if they heated it with a torch. Right. The bike, the handlebars all twisted, the wheels were all bent. And I was like, the bike I've been riding all day. And I was like messed up in the head. And then they said, okay, Rodney, we're going to start shooting the scene. And my freaking head was messed up. I'm like, the bike, how am I going to ride the bike? It's all messed up. And the scene was these bad guys came to kidnap my dad.
Right.
In a $6 million man. And they backed out of the yard and backed over the bike, stealing, you know, kidnapping my dad. That was the story. So I'm all freaking sad. And then they were like, Rodney, we got to start shooting the scene. So they laid a bike down behind the car. And I'm all freaking sad. And the line was my bike. You know, somebody ran over my bike. And oh my God. I'm like, why would they torture a poor kid like this? But they did. Right. And so the best part of this thing was we finished the scene. I'm all jacked up. And they're like, Rodney, can we get you some craft services? I'm like, yeah, I need some water. I need a drink. You know, I'm all sad. Right. And in walks Lee Majors. I'm like, you know, the $6 million man, you know. And he's like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, are you really bionic? He's like, feel this. And he's like, I'm like, wow, you are bionic. And he goes, I'm like, and he was like, I heard they ran over your bike. I'm like, can you fix it? He goes, let me see what I can do. And he drags this bent off bike off. And this guy starts talking to me. And they switch bikes. And they come back with another dummy bike. And this guy kept me talking and kept my back to Lee Majors. And you hear him going, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I turn around, he's like, yeah, that should about do it. I said, you fixed it. Oh my God, you fixed my bike. So that's my best memory of Lee Majors for hooking a brother's bike up and straightening it out. And
turns out he was bionic.
Yeah. Apparently he was. I didn't see. Listen, I did not see him not bend the bike. So if anybody asks, Lee Majors is bionic. I don't care. Nobody. That's for me. He's bionic, and I'm going to stick to it. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, you not only did the TV shows, you did the talk shows. You did Johnny Carson. Tell me about Johnny Carson. What was that like? What was it like being on set with Johnny?
Well, first of all, every night after dinner, Daddy would sit down in the living room and kick back, and he would watch Johnny Carson. And after Carson would go off, he'd go to bed. Right. Oftentimes, I tried to peek around the corner, and my dad said, hey, man, you need to be in bed. And I'm like, I want to watch Johnny Carson. And my dad was like, okay, whatever. So I'd peek in and watch Johnny Carson some nights. But when we got the call that Johnny wanted me to go on the show, my dad, who was normally pretty laid back, it was mostly mama taking me to the auditions and the different things and the different shows, appearances and stuff. But daddy goes, what? Carson? Man, I'm going to that. So daddy wanted to make sure that he was there, and he wanted to meet Johnny Carson because dad was a fan of Johnny Carson. And so he had the pleasure of meeting him. We went up to NBC and knocked it out. And man, but Johnny Carson was just a legend, and everybody knew him, and he was superstar status. That's all it is. So I did Johnny Carson, Mike Douglas, Dinah Shore, Merv Griffin, did a couple of Merv Griffin specials.
What was Merv like? What was Merv like when you were with him?
Superstar, man. I mean, we did the me and a group of kids and all these A-listers at the time. You know, we did the Merv Griffin's Christmas special. So he did a special show. Yeah. Oh, wow. And, you know, just being there and being a little crazy kid on the set, and with all the rest of the other children and other A-list actors at the time that were making appearances on the Merv Griffin show. And as everybody knows, Merv Griffin was a great content creator and show producer and show host. And so those are the type of people that I would like to have an opportunity. Me personally, I want to have the Rodney Allen Rippey show. I want to have a late night show. And so time will tell, you know, because I'm always thinking. And so whenever I'm out there, and you know, you never know who you meet. I don't know who Jimmy Deal knows. Jimmy might know somebody heavy.
Well, when you get that show, I want to be on the show. Okay, is that all right,
brother? Put it out there, market it. Hey, Rodney Allen Rippey wants the Rodney Allen Rippey show, late night show, daytime talk. I can handle it. I'll make quick work of that. And I'm telling you, I would have my dream for the Rodney Allen Rippey show would really. I have some really great ideas. I can't say it. I don't want nobody to try to copy that.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I guarantee you, if I had a daytime talk or a late night show, I have a marketing plan that is top shelf that nobody, and I'm like, I can't even say it. I'm not even going to say it on Jimmy Deal's show. I'm going to have to keep this to myself because nobody's doing it, and nobody's thought of it. And I'm like, I'm like, Hollywood's too, they get a little happy when they hear a good idea. I'm like, I'll keep that to myself, you know?
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. You know, and all the talk shows we have out there right now are pretty much the same. I mean, there's not much difference between a lot of them. So we need something a little bit different.
That's right. I got something very different. And so, you know, I'm working on a couple of cool projects. I have something that I'm wanting to do that is, you know, kind of a little bit extreme, but just cool stuff. So I'm always thinking and packaging and building stuff. I'm working with good people. So between the radio show and trying to get my own nonprofit off the ground, I work with the youth and education and programs. And so I'm always really looking out for the less fortunate, the youth that did not get an opportunity. Remember, Jimmy, when back in the day when you're in school, there was wood shop and metal and electronics, and kids back in the day had a real opportunity. And when you start talking about STEAM, science, technology, engineering, the arts and math, you get, you know, some great people, and, you know, you get great opportunities. And so, you know, nowadays, if you talk to a young person, they really don't have any heavy duty skill sets. Exactly. Oh, they're great, you know, great gamers and stuff like that. But if you say, hey, brother, you want to change your oil? They're like, what? Change the oil? What's that? You know, I'm driving an electric car, you know, it's like, so they
It's
just
a different world today, man. For sure.
It's a different world. Not knocking technology. I love technology myself,
Right.
but you know, it's all about career paths and career opportunities. And there's a lot of people out here who are sitting around, and if they had a skill set, a certification, they could earn more money. Matter of fact, hopefully, I'm trying to get to Juneteenth back in Henrico County in Richmond, Virginia for Juneteenth. So I think that's going to be June 15th this year.
Okay.
And it's a huge thing. There are over 15 federal agencies that are going to be participating in this, and it's all about jobs. And so
nice.
The Juneteenth event is huge. I'm going to try to make my way there. And oftentimes I do a little media thing and kind of like do interviews, and I interview the VIPs, but it's really to show young people that through simple certifications, they can have a real career path. And a lot of people don't know that certain certifications can move people from literally $10,000 a year, because there are people who are earning $10,000 a year, literally, and they're trying to get them upwards to 70. There's over 3,200 HUD communities across the country. So they're trying to get into these communities and make sure that the young people and the people there have access to technical skills that's going to take care of them for the future.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That sounds so great, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, also, I wanted to mention you were also the co-producer of the Country Soul Music Awards at one point, and tell us about those with Lionel Richie and all those people were involved with that. Tina Turner, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we're working on the project for 2025. It's been we were close for 2024, but we just missed the mark on a couple things. So we're gonna look for kind of restrapping up, getting ready to hit it hard for 2025, the Country Soul Music Awards, where we're going to honor the soulful side of country. And so you got people like Ronnie Millsap, Winona Judd. You got people like all of the new people. You know, when you think about Charlie Pride, Aaron Neville, the Pointer Sisters, a lot of people don't know Tina Turner had a couple of country albums.
Yeah.
Tina Turner. And so we want to honor the soulful side of country, and it's not about skin tone. It's all about the sound. And you've got such hot people like Kane Brown that's out there, and Reese Palmer, and God,
Darius Rucker's doing really well right now.
Darius Rucker's heating it up, and and then you got what's his name, the big guy that everybody loves. What's his name? He's got a lot of tattoos. Everybody, Jelly Roll.
Oh, Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll. Yeah, there you go.
Jelly Roll in the house. And so, and now, of course, the one and only Beyonce doing her thing in country. So it's kind of opened up things. Some people go, that's not country, but it kind of is. It's so it's like, down with your cross. It's burning me. No. Come on now, people. Go easy. Come on. There's plenty of room for everybody. And there's a lot of people who literally enjoy, it's funny. I went to an event recently, and a friend had an artist said, I'm going to have somebody make your name as a placard. There you go. Rodney Rippey.
Wow, nice.
If you put it in front of you, I was like, oh, nice. Thank you. That is part of science, technology, and engineering. There you go. And arts. Yeah.
And you still hold the record, right, for Billboard, right? The youngest person to get a charted on Billboard. Right? I mean, nobody else is doing that right now.
Yeah, matter of fact, if you get a chance, like I said, go jump on Spotify. A friend of mine sent me an email last night. No, actually sent me something on Facebook, and they were playing my album. So they videotaped my album or their TV, and they said that they downloaded my album and they were playing it. So I was like, oh, how sweet.
I think it was just, I was checking on Amazon, and I think I saw a copy on Amazon, actually.
Yeah, well, there's some people who have albums. I saw on Amazon, somebody had my album $145. Apparently, it's still in plastic. And I was like, wow. I was like, all right. I'm like, okay. I'm just going to try to make all of that memorabilia sitting out there worth $50 million. I want my stuff to have value. So brother got a lot of work to do.
I could imagine what that Rodney Allen Rippy doll is worth today.
Yeah. Actually, they are getting up there. I saw one of the dolls, and I actually had one. Someone gave to me last Christmas, and it was almost $500.
Wow.
Yeah, in the box, still in plastic.
That's what it is. You know, when you have it in the box, man, the price goes right up there.
Hey, Rodney in the box. There you go.
There you go. So out of all the accomplishments that you've had during your career, what's been the most important one to you?
Wow. I think probably one of the most important accomplishments was actually probably graduating college, because I made a promise to my mom that I was going to do that. And mom, I made a promise to her. I did in smooth fashion. It wasn't a struggle. My mom said, Rodney, your college is paid for. It's in your trust account. So basically you have no reason, brother, to not go to school. I was like, all right, guess brother's going to school then. So, but the funny thing was, I could have went to AFM. I could have went to film school, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to have a skill set that was outside of the industry. And so I went and got my degree in marketing and advertising. And
you did really well with it, man. You really did,
Well, I learned everything that you see. I don't care if it's a television show, if it's a movie, somebody's got to market the thing. And that is some very slick stuff. When you look at these movie releases and you look at the packaging of things and products and stuff like that, it goes a long way. And that kind of intrigued me. So I decided to get my degree in that. I started Ripped Marketing Group. So I send out press releases, and I do different things for people, and I do video production work. So I had at one time RER Entertainment, which I'm going to, probably get back to work on, because I want to develop my own projects. And I got a indie film that's stuck in my head that I want to put on the screen and get out there and, show people what I can do.
Of course. You've got a lot going on, man. Really. So awesome. Yeah. And again, tell us how to get that radio show that you do on Mondays, and also about your radio station.
Yeah. On Mondays, if you get a chance, go to, it's the chat session on the This Way Network every Monday at 8:30. I'm on. I have a great co-host. Her name is Nina. Very sweet lady. And, and so we're just kind of like, she's back in Alabama and I'm out here in California. So she's kind of got that Southern drawl to her. She kind of got the Southern drawl. And then I'm Cali cool. And so I'm here. But it's, she's a very balanced person. And so we talk about, the things that empower us and make us better. And, and we're trying to find ways and information and guests to come on the show to inspire people. And we can do a lot better. I mean, when you look at our nation, there's a lot of funky stuff going on right now. Absolutely. Very funky, and kind of a lot of people kind of concerned about things. But, I think that there are always more good people than bad. And the good people got to get together, and we got to work and just hang in there.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me tonight. What an honor to have you back on the show, Rodney Allen Rippy. You're a busy guy, always working on stuff. So awesome to have you.
Well, it's good to be on with you, man. And Jimmy, anytime, I'm always around, man.
Well, thank you, Rodney Allen Rippy. I really appreciate it so much. We'll stay in touch, and you're always welcome to come back on the show, promote whatever you got going on.
Thanks so much, Jimmy.
Thanks, Rodney. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Rodney Allen Rippey right there. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody out there watching, I know Cindy, the producer, has sent me over some names of people that were watching the show tonight. Michael Bellis, my mom, Millie in Canarsie. She recently just had a birthday. Happy birthday again, Mom. Also, Tom Payton is out there. Beryl, of course. Thank you so much for listening. Beryl is my friend out there in Virginia. Also, Lisa Sadlis. Also, I went to school with Lisa. She's a very good friend of mine. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate you watching. And all the people that listen to us and watch us every single week here on Celebrity Spotlight, I really do appreciate it. Cindy Lake Ronkonkoma, Cindy, the producer, thank you for joining me and helping me out tonight, as always. Coming up this Thursday, we have a special edition of Celebrity Spotlight with Louise Sorrell, and she is from Days of Our Lives, a great soap opera star, did so much television. She did everything from Bonanza to Star Trek, so many shows. So we'll talk to her this Thursday night coming up at 7 p.m., a special edition of Celebrity Spotlight. So please join us for that. Also, my friend from Hollywood, Elaine Ballas, will be here next week. Next Thursday, she is going to join us. She is from the Hollywood Museum and also Hollywood Boulevard there. She is a great actress, done a lot of stuff in her career. We'll find out what's going on with Elaine Ballas. Singer Roy Hamilton Jr., direct from Las Vegas, will be here. He has a show going on in Vegas. We'll talk all about his show. Ted Vigil, the world's leading John Denver tribute artist, a good friend of mine. He's got a show coming up, I believe, in Long Island in July. That's Ted Vigil, John Denver tribute artist. Okay, so he'll be on the show. And the CEO of Hollywood's Game Changer 3R Entertainment, Carrie Calvin, will be here. He has a lot going on in Hollywood right now. He's got a clothesline. He produces a lot of music stars. So he's going to fill us in on what's going on in Hollywood and all the new stuff that he's working on. Also, actor Dean Butler from Little House on the Prairie will be here. And Heart tribute artist Sandy Hall joins us, and that's she's going to be coming up on Celebrity Spotlight as well. And my good friend Lee Newton is going to be back on Celebrity Spotlight for the third time. She's doing so well in Nashville. She's becoming a tremendous star, so I'm so happy to have her back on the show. So excited about that. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate it. Everybody have a fantastic week, and we will catch up with you Thursday night. Please join us again for Louise. She's a great actress, a lot of great TV shows. She's got a great history in Hollywood, so please join us for that. And I really appreciate everybody listening. Have a great night, and I will check you out on Thursday night. Bye-bye, everybody.